this?
Yeah, I was gonna say this is.
I'll get it real quick.
Is there a flyer?
No, it's a butterfly.
It's like
It's black?
It is.
Is it black?
Distracting.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, I am Daniel, this is DTV, and for those that don't know, I run a local travel video blog while stationed here in Grafenwöhr, Germany. Today I want to make a video about what it's like to actually live here in Germany. I'm going to be interviewing an American family who's been stationed here for quite some time now. They're actually in the middle of a PCS, actually leaving Germany, but the idea is to get a different perspective on what it's like to actually live here and to hear some real life examples of how other Americans are living in the community. So let's go. So whether you're on your way, you just got here, or maybe you've been here for a while, I think it'd be kind of interesting to see some real life examples of family life, raising kids here, spouse careers, travel. And so with that said, let's get the interview started.
What's up, guys?
Oh, it is a crazy, crazy time.
Here we are. All right, so let's just get the obvious stuff out of the way.
Okay.
Who are you? What's your names? And what do you do?
I'm Frank Rosansky. I worked at Vilsack Elementary School in the library.
And I'm Alina Rosansky, and I was a teacher at Vilsack Middle High School, which became Grafenwöhr Middle School, which became Netzeburg Middle School.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long have you guys been stationed here?
16
years.
Let's start talking first about just like when you first got here. Like, what did you come here with? What were your expectations?
Oh my goodness. When we first we came for 2 years. We thought, let's go on an adventure for 2 years, and then we'll go back home, because who wants to live outside the United States? That was what we thought. We sold a lot of stuff because we had this notion that all the places were small.
Yeah, we were told don't bring your big furniture because it's not gonna fit.
Everything's small, that's what we were told. So this was 2004. We got rid of most of our furniture. We came over here expecting only to stay for 2 years, and 16 years later, with a house full of furniture of all big things that we wish we would have brought with us from the United States, here we are.
So you guys came here, no kids, right?
No
kids. We came, I was 28, Frank was 35. We were like, let's tour Europe. So when I graduated from college, we were looking at maybe we should go overseas, and we kind of put it to the side, and I did my master's program, did my national board certification. All of a sudden we're like, oh, we could go overseas, let's take a peek. When I finished that work, and we started and we looked at Dodds, and so that's what allowed us to come over here for 2 years, was being a part of Dodds, Dodia. Frank had to give up his job, but we thought for 2 years it would be okay. For 2 years, and that's what brought us over here. So coming over here was an easy choice because I grew up a military brat. My dad was in the Marines and then in the Army. Frank's dad was Air Force. And so both of us grew up military brats. So we were used to moving around, we were used to the lifestyle. And so being able to come over here, we knew we could relate with the community because we were this community. And when we got here, I was teaching social studies, a subject I had never taught before. But it was an opportunity, again, 2 years, come over, check it out. I ended up absolutely loving middle school, loving social studies. It was harder with Frank because he had to give up his career to come over here, but we thought it would just be 2 years.
Yeah, we thought it would be 2 years, go back, try to jump right back in. I helped run a security company, as an area manager, so I had my own building, and then came here, and then there's nothing, not even in that area, because I have no military experience at all. If I was in the military, it'd have been a lot easier to get a job here in many different aspects.
So what did you start doing? We can go back and forth on the career thing, since we're getting into it. What did you do first in order to try to get your career started? Knowing that you only had 2 years.
Yeah, only had 2 years. At first it was I was the one that stayed home, learned everything, how to do everything, get everything taken care of.
Utilities, making the appointments to get the stuff worked on in the house, and deliveries. He did. I went to work and was figuring out a new job while he figured out everything about Germany. That was what he did.
And then it was about, probably 8 months in, then I started to get the itch of I need to go start working. And then my first job I got here, because it's, as not being a military spouse, it's even harder. You're lower down on the list. I got a job at the Grafenwöhr Hotel before it was the big new one. So it was spread out, and I started working there. I think I was there for 3 years.
Yeah, you were there for 3 years.
3 years.
And it was because you had started restaurant.
I had started in college. My first degree plan, which never went to fruition, was hotel restaurant management. And then I learned that I really did not want to run a restaurant because there's no free time, really, especially in the States. And I was there for 3 years, and it was great. I mean, I worked with all Germans. Everybody that worked there was all German except for like 3 people. But the only problem was our hours hardly ever matched. Days off or anything never matched, so we hardly saw each other.
And you had to work holidays, you had to work weekends.
Summers,
and we thought, what is the purpose of being over here if we can't have the time off together? We want to be able to sync that up. And when, at first it was like, it's okay because it's in your field. You want to do hotel restaurant management, start working in the field, finish your degree. But like you said, decided, this is not for me. And so...
Yeah, when I started, we decided, maybe because they probably get tons of applications, that I would go down and say, okay, this is my name, this is what I'm applying for, anything that you want, anything that you have, I'm applying for. And I went to Graf Elementary and PCSing Elementary because Netzeberg wasn't around at the time, so there wasn't a Netzeberg Elementary. When I went to the PCSing Elementary, I don't remember the principal's name, but he offered me, he said, well, if you put in, you can probably get the recess monitor and lunch monitor, which was like an hour and a half a day. I was like, anything to get started, I would do that. So I started putting it in, but then between the time when that position actually opened up where you could actually apply again, he had already left, and Miss Hammock, Nancy Hammock, came in, and she, I applied for, I wasn't even sure, it was in the library, but it was called Office Automation Clerk, is what it was under. And I applied for that, and then when I went in the interview with her, I felt like I did really good in the interview, but I was still shaky because you have the military people, but she ended up choosing me. And for me, it was the best thing. The library and the elementary school is the best place to be. It's the funnest place to be besides gym. And I was there for 12 years before we got this position, and that was the best thing. And then all of a sudden, all of our days lined up, hours lined up, and then we could actually really start to travel.
And then also, 2 years later, you decided in 2010, then, okay, you got this out, we've done some traveling, education.
Yeah, and then I went to UMUC and finished my degree in my art history degree and art history minor. I haven't actually used it yet, but I was actually able to accomplish that, which was something that was on the list of things to do, especially once we decided we were here for more than 2 years.
As soon as you graduated from there, we adopted our 2 kids. And so then again, being able to work in the school allowed us to have a schedule where you had to think 365 days in a school year, or in a year, 180 days in a school year, so you have basically 185 non-school days. So half the year. With both of us working a school schedule, we get to spend half the year with our kids. No one else gets to do that. And our kids really needed that. And so that was, again, that reinforced our decision together to say, okay, he could apply for many other things, right? Yeah. There are a lot of things out there, but it would be regular, 52 weeks a year, Monday through Friday. But the lifestyle opportunity afforded to be able to say, we work 180 days and we are with our kids 186 other days, you can't find that anywhere else. And so that's why.
And then being in the school when they first got here.
Huge.
It made a big difference for them.
Because he was in the exact same school. So when there were issues, when there were problems, he knew all the teachers, he knew how the system worked. And if there was a problem, instead of, a teacher saying, do I call home, do I not call home? It's like, let me just pop out to the library. I think that being here and having our kids, we adopted our kids when they were 7 and 8 years old. And so they were already elementary age, 2nd and 3rd grade. And this is the perfect environment for being able to raise kids. Mostly because it's outside. Like, there's a lot of outside. So we're outside, we're hiking, we are walking in the farmer's fields, like grab your bike and let's go. It's safe. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about the safety of belongings or the safety of human beings. I'm not worried about that here. We have the opportunities that are afforded on the post to be able to participate in CYS sports, in SKYS activities, like my daughter participated in dance and gymnastics. they're all available. So you can stay as American as you like, but you could also be as German as you like. And so we have a lot of colleagues who also participate in like German soccer, and they participate in ballet in the German economy. Because our kids were coming from such a huge change, we didn't want to throw them into brand new environment plus brand new culture, like language. So we stuck mostly with the American opportunities that were available. But then we also traveled. And being here, you can afford to travel as a family of four. In the United States, we can't afford to travel as a family of four. It's so expensive, and here it is not. Even being able to, for example, go out to eat. Say in the States, we go to a regular place, you're looking at, even for a kid's meal, like between like maybe like $9 or $10, you're looking at like a drink plus tax plus tip. You're looking at, for kids, like $15 maybe, you know, $15 for each kid. That's $30 there. For us, you're looking at easily $30, and that's if we keep it down when you think of tax and tip and drink. And so you've got 60, 30, you're looking at $90 a meal. That's expensive. Here, we can go out. There's a place in town that has a lunchtime special that's like, it's $7.50 for a pasta or pizza and a salad, and you have a drink. And so for €10, for 40 euros, the four of us can eat out, which right now is equivalent of $45, so half the cost.
If you're going to be here in Germany, you need to get out. I mean, it's
Post
a post is a post. Every post you go to is basically the same. Mm-hmm. The structure is the same, the stores are the same, bigger, smaller, but still the same stores. Here, you get out here, when you go to the restaurants, you get served. You don't get served by a manager, you get served by the owner. The owner is there to talk with you, and it's so nice. And they not that the waiters and waiters in the States aren't professionals, but they go to school. They remember you. You go there once or twice, by the time you're there the third time, they remember you if you've been there.
Yeah, because it is, like you said, it is a career option here. They're actually, waiters and waitresses are paid a living wage here. So they are actually they go to school, and that it becomes part of a career. Instead of where in the United States, it often is a temporary job on the way to somewhere else.
Or a second job.
Which I would have to have as a teacher in the United States. We also, I would say, getting out there, like you were talking about, you know, the PX is the PX, the commissary is the commissary. Out of all the people we've met here over these 16 years, the people who don't like it tend to be the people who never left post. They're like, I hate it here, and it's like, why? And they talk about, you know, how the PX doesn't have what they want and the commissary doesn't have what they want. Okay, well, did you go off post to here or there? Well, no. And why? Usually because they're scared. And they may not say that outright. They might say, oh, well, I'm not sure about the language, and it's a fear. But get out there and know that the majority of people are going to be speaking English. And if you go up and you have the basic phrase of "Sprechen Sie English bitte?" and you ask them first if they speak English, and they will reach out and they will be like, yes, I do, or maybe they don't. But guess what? There's Google Translate. You have an app. You can turn your phone into the camera on Google Translate, show it on a menu, and it'll translate it right there for you into English. It's perfect. Like, there's no reason to not get out there.
And as long as you try.
Yep.
If they see you trying and they see you struggling,
yep, exactly.
Their English gets so much better.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is just they're standoffish, because some of the Americans, and other people too, but some of the Americans, they're very rude. They can be very rude, and if you don't speak English, there's a problem, even though you're not in America.
Yeah.
And they see you trying, even though if you struggle and say the words wrong.
Yeah, they'll still try with you.
They'll try with you. And sometimes it's ein bisschen Deutsch and ein bisschen English, and it works really well together.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so let's talk more about getting out there. Travel. You guys talked a lot about travel and taking your kids out and doing things.
Yes.
Where has been, if you can recommend some places, I know there's a ton of places, you've been here 16 years.
My gosh.
There's a ton of places. If you had to narrow down to a couple stories or a couple places that you would recommend people, you have to go do this while you're here.
We tended to go outside of Germany every time we had the opportunity. And like, embarrassing admission, it took 16 years. We just went to Berlin last week because we had never been, and because every time there'd be a long weekend or a spring break or a
Christmas break or summer break,
it's like, where can we go? We went to Egypt, to Mallorca, Gran Canaria, Greece, England, Ireland. Amsterdam,
Portugal,
Spain, Italy. I mean, but we did not explore enough in Germany. And so that, I think one recommendation, honestly, if I could do it differently, is I would maybe explore more the home country here. Going outside of that, I would say some of our favorite places, I think Crete is one of our absolute favorites. Crete in Greece is not as touristy. It's still, there's tourists that go there, but it's not as touristy. For example, if you went to like Mykonos and there's like tons and tons and tons of people there all trying to take the same shot that is in the same magazines. Crete is not like that, and so we found a more homey Greek folks vacationed there, and that was kind of neat to get an experience, and the cost was down. We're really about affordable travel.
Yeah, and definitely affordable.
And so that was Crete was fantastic. You could be in Nice, France. If you tried to go on the beach with a sunbed, the sunbeds were like 25 euros for one bed and an umbrella. In Crete, we could get 4 sunbeds with 2 umbrellas for 10 euros. So price-wise, very different. It's not Nice, but it's also not 25 euros a bed. It was, then you could, right from those beds, you could walk up to a little mom and pop place that was serving, and you're sitting right on the beach. They're serving gyros and Greek salad and pita and good cold beer.
Good cold beer. For the 30 euros for the 4 of us
to eat a whole meal.
London, yeah.
London, absolutely adore London, and it's kind of a nice, for people who might be afraid to venture out, London might be a great first stop because they speak English. So if you're a little hesitant, it's great to go somewhere that is in a foreign location that isn't speaking a foreign language.
Paris.
This man hated Paris when we first got here. Didn't want to go, hated it. The first time we went, I finally got him to go. And I said, can we please, let's go. And we both hated it the first time we went to Paris. And because we had a horrible experience. There was a shooting in the subway station where a man about 50 feet from us was shot dead by a police officer. It was a horrible, horrible experience. We had some anti-American experience with someone. It left a really bad taste in our mouth. But I somehow convinced him to go one more time. And it was the best experience we'd ever had. And
that was your birthday.
Was it my birthday that time?
I think so. So I couldn't say no.
That's right. That's what it was. It was my birthday. You couldn't say no. And so we went back that second time, and it was absolutely fantastic. And I think that lesson taught us that even if you can't really judge locations by one trip or one experience. You have to give things a chance, and just because one person had one bad experience doesn't mean you're going to, and even because you had one bad experience doesn't mean you'll have one again. I think that's one of the places I think for both of us.
And it's drivable.
It's absolutely drivable from here. You can get there in 8 hours right from here in Grafenwöhr, or you can do what we did is we would often leave after school, like 3 or 4 o'clock on like on a Thursday or a Friday. Get to Ramstein area and stop there because you could fill up with Esso gas. Stay there and get fresh, drive the next morning and be there by 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning and still have a whole half of the day.
Yeah, and that's where we took one of our first trips. We took our kids was to Paris and to Euro
Disney, which is about 25% of the cost of going to Disney in the States. It's a great place to go with kids.
Any other things that you want to add about just like PCSing out of here, or any last recommendations or tips for people that are going to only be here for like 3 years?
All I can say is get out there, enjoy what's here.
Mm-hmm. As often as possible.
Has time gone by fast?
I cannot believe it's been 16 years, and I still wish we had more time. We wouldn't be leaving if the opportunity hadn't come up for us to be able to go to a location that was near family. That's the only reason why we're leaving. Otherwise, we would still be here.
This has been quite the experience with the whole COVID stuff. So
and trying to PCS during
COVID. To PCS during COVID, but you have to be persistent to get anything done. You can't. If they don't answer the phone, keep calling. We got to the point where it's busy, call, just hang up and call again, hang up and call again, hang up and call again.
I would say persistence and patience are the 2 things to be armed with. 3 Ps. We'll go with 3 Ps. Persistence, patience, and preparedness. because those three things, persistence, like I said, like being able to get appointments and get where you need to go and understand that there's a way that there are things that need to get done, and being persistent to make sure you get what you need. That's what's best for your family. Just the way things are going to function, that persistence, patience, because just because it's your emergency doesn't make it their emergency, and being patient with the folks who are dealing with angry people all day. And so sometimes just being patient, they're like, oh, here's a nice person, what can I do for them? And the preparedness, we have checklists upon checklists upon checklists and calendars with everything detailed in it. And that has helped things go as smoothly as they can. And yeah, but there's been so much.
Because there's gonna be bumps.
Yeah.
I mean, our bump now is Puerto Rico's not taking flights, or limiting flights from Florida and Texas.
And those are the only two places we can get into Puerto Rico on the contracted fares for the government.
So what I was going to say, you guys gave me an idea, not just PCSing out of Germany, but coming in as well with persistence and patience. Because people are nervous.
Yes.
It's their first time, for young soldiers or first time coming to Germany. Mm-hmm. They're a little nervous about all the things they have to do to get here and whatnot. Like, are there things that once they arrive, or maybe even before they arrive, that they can lean on to have a smoother transition to getting here?
Now, I think people coming in have so many ways that they can get information. Being able to go to Facebook groups, there's Netzberg family groups, there's Vilsec and Grafenwöhr military spouses groups. Those places are great that you can get information from. For DODS teachers coming in, there's a DODS teacher Facebook page that has lots of helpful folks. But just because you hear it on that page doesn't necessarily make it so. So I have found that if I get information, I'll be like, oh, that's interesting. Let me see if I can get something to verify what that person has said. The garrisons all have Facebook pages and websites that you can get information from. Also, to me, I think being prepared with knowing the lay of the land, and we did that before we got here, looking, okay, here's where Grafenwöhr is, here's where Vilsec is. What are some towns, like looking at a map, like on Google Maps, like what are the towns that are nearby, what's happening? So when they're telling me, hey, we have a home available here or here, I have an idea of what that looks like. Being prepared to keep internet internationally on my American phone when I first arrived, because getting an international phone plan may not be possible like the second you arrive for some folks. So maybe having that as a possibility so you're not dead in the water. That would be super helpful, because having the internet now, especially, you can look anything up, and that would, and I can't imagine not having that available right now. As we PCS out, that is exactly what we are doing. We're making sure that when we arrive, our German phones will be, we think maybe about a week that we might have to use them internationally before we get set up. If you have medically fragile folks in your family, making sure that you have, that you hand carry their medical documents and enough medicine for at least a month, if not 2 to 3, because medicine is different here, and the names are different, and you cannot take an American prescription and go off post with it. So if you have somebody who's dependent on medicine, you want to bring those supplies, so you have those 30 to 90 days to be able to figure out what is the German equivalent if you are a civilian who has to go off post, or to find out if the formulary on post has the medicine that you have. So that's a huge thing. Making sure you take care of your maybe medical appointments and things that are up to date. We just went and got physicals for the kids right now, so that when we land, we don't have to try to find a doctor to do a physical right before school starts. If you're leaving from the States and you have a doctor and a dentist and everything, go do all that stuff before you leave, so you don't have to try to figure that out when you get here right when you land, and you give yourself time to figure that out on the medical front. And the big thing with PCSing that we have, we are blocking off this entire room. This winter garden is the no mover zone, so that we can put everything in here, all the documents, everything that's not going to get packed. So that's, if people don't already do that, when you have movers coming in, I would definitely recommend either putting it in your car and locking it because they can't go in there, or physically locking off a room that is not just a sign on the door, because again, with language differences, they might not be able to read it, but physically locking a door that they can't go in, so you don't have passports that get packed out and then you're trying to leave and you can't because your passports are on a ship.
In a box somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a ton of information. I really appreciate all that. We're going to miss you guys.
We're so sad to be leaving.
I know,
We would not be leaving. We would not be leaving if this opportunity had come up.
If it wasn't Puerto Rico, we wouldn't be going anywhere else.
Yeah.
Well, I look at it as an opportunity for us now.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm trying to get to Puerto Rico.
That's right. Come on over. We got an apartment on the beach. Come home.
Perfect. All right. Well, Alina, Frank, obviously I know you guys very well, and I love you guys, and thank you for everything that you've done for us in the community, and hopefully some of the things that you shared today will help others in the community. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.